He says, hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. It's Friday. I'm Mia Voss. You're watching the Mia Connect Power Chat. You know, it's always something every week, so we had a little bit of trouble in the green room. The tiara wasn't working, but look, let's do it. You ready? It's working. But on the flip side, my guest, Mr. Mark DeCosmo, his lower third isn't working, so we're just going to have to say his name over and over again, right?
Yeah, it's an age thing, Mia. You know, when you get to my age, your lower third stops working. What can I say?
It's going to be a good show already. Tell that right now. So listen, everyone, today we're going to be talking about horrible bosses and horrible clients because I think they actually go hand in hand. I started thinking about it and thought, you know, a lot of people now have new jobs or new businesses because they had a horrible boss, and then on the flip side, sometimes we get horrible clients. So we're going to cover all that today. Mark DeCosmo, of course, is here with us, and he has some great background. But I want to give you a little bit of information how I came up with the idea. So Horrible Bosses 2 is coming out on November 26th. I partnered up with a company called Kicks 43 Denver, and they're awesome. They give us tickets to movies, which is great. And Mark, I wish you were here. You would have come with us, right?
Yeah, I most certainly would.
I know you're a big movie fan, so I'm not going to do any kind of spoiler alerts. We're not going to put anything out on the movie, but I will say Horrible Bosses 2, hashtag like a boss, was just as funny as the first one and just as crude. It's dirty. And Jennifer Aniston is still banging hot, for anybody who's wondering. So she
That's reassuring, yes.
Yes, she is just as dirty in this one too, but it definitely has some interesting characters in it, and of course some horrible bosses and horrible clients. So I didn't even know it was going to be that way, but it kind of incorporated it. So yay! So let me give a shout out to the people who went with us last night. My man Greg Boysaw, my girl Jennifer Spencer, Allison Maness, Julie Gutman, Scott Sertich, Ashley Sertich, Felice Haas, Larry Mars, Stephanie Landon, and Sabine Meyer. Did you see our little sign?
Yeah.
We had little taped off seats and everything. We felt fancy. So for you Denver people who want to come with me next time when I do a movie premiere, will you let me know in the comments here so I can get you going on that? So without any further ado, you know what I'm going to do. I'm going to pull up the backpack because you know they're out there. So let's shout them out very quickly. First of all, do you have anybody you want to shout out before I jump into that?
No, fire away. You go for it.
All right, so I've got Sherilyn Farabine. I never say your name right, but you know I love you. Go Daddy, go Daddy. She's super excited for today's topic. Nazim, he is in the audience. He's representing my brother from another mother. And let's see what else I've got. I know that Candy is out in the audience from Japan. Yay, girlfriend. I think she's probably fallen asleep, but I know she's out there. And let me also give a shout out to Carmen Mandich. Look at my fun mug she sent me, my chip nails. Well, let me see if I can get the tiara on it. Caca del Toro. And Carmen, your tripod bob mug is on its way as well. So let's see who else we have. Oh, Nazim said he's had a week of edgy clients with edgy demands. Totally know that one. One Great Life, Phil is out. He in the audience. He's ambitiously waiting. Sheila is locked and loaded for this one. Rock and roll. Let me see if I can pull in a couple. Oh, my brother Dave Pipe is here from Sussex.
Mm-hmm.
I bet you know where that is.
Yes.
And Coach G says hi to Dave Pipe. Coach G is the man, just so you know. He's the man for every woman, is what I said about him the other day. I'm not even going to fill in what that means. I'm just going to let you think about that one. My brother Lee Rickler is here. Boom. And I'm sorry I wasn't pulling him up before, but here's the one from Sheila because she does say rock and roll. Oh, Cameron is here. I need to get him on my show. There's my snake man. Check him out. We are going to have him on the show. I posted a link. He likes snakes. What can I say? Let's see. Danielle says, Brr, it is. Oh, my God, you guys. How cold is it? It's that cold. I mean, it was maybe 5 degrees as a heat wave. It's going to be 30 here today in Denver. So how about where you are, Mark? What's going on where you are?
We've got lots of rain and it's probably about 10 degrees, but very, very windy and very, very wet. I mean, incredibly wet. So that's our typical sort of fall weather for the UK. The north of England, that's a typical sort of summer weather as well, actually. So what can I say?
I hear you. Let's give a shout out to our brother Sean. He's in the audience, and he's the reason why you're here today. He was on the show last week. He says, just checking in, no pressure, but you better be entertaining.
Well, we know who to blame, Sean Mann, if I'm not.
It's all you. Elaine is saying woohoo from Bel Air, Maryland. Easy for me to say. And my brother TJ says he hates it when his lower third won't work.
He looks a lot younger than me, so hopefully he won't have to go through this.
Oh, he's a little hot number. And listen, TJ, get in touch with Candy on this link here because she is in Japan. She's in Tokyo. So, and my girl Yvonne is watching in stealth. So, and I want to give a quick shout out again. I want to know. We're going to segue real quick. If you guys liked the weekend show last week, can you say something in the comments? Because I used to do once a month weekend shows, got out of the habit, and I have a feeling it went over well. So, if you guys want to see a Saturday or Sunday show once a week, tell me. I'd like to know. So yeah, Sean was on, Eileen Smith was on, Nazim was on talking about how cool his life is, Life of Nazim, and then of course Shannon Hernandez. So I want to thank them for being on the show too. So listen, let's jump into it. I want to hear also everybody's comments. If you want to tell your story, please put it in the comments. I do say I know this is a serious topic because I've been harassed on a job. I don't know about, I mean, I work in construction for part of my business. What do you want from me, right? But I know it's a serious topic. We do want to keep it light today, but if you feel like sharing your story and just, blurting it out on comments, or if you want to come in, put in the comment too. We can have you pop in and tell your story, but you got to keep it somewhat clean, right? Unless you want a dirty story, Mark.
I'm easy. It's the early evening over here. It's the morning over there. Maybe people aren't quite ready for it yet. I don't know.
As long as your lower third's working, brother. So, all right. So let's jump in. Tell us what you're doing. I love your background. It's varied. I love the fact that you're writing a blog also on The Apprentice. It's like this. Yes. This weekly overview of what's going on there. So give us a little bit of background on you and why you can talk on this subject with us today.
Yeah, well, my background is I was a scientist by training. I worked in the research and development side of pharmaceuticals. Very, very boring. Did that for about 3 years. It's one of those things where you build your career up towards something and you think it's going to be great. And when you get there, the job isn't quite you.
Right.
I didn't realize what it was that I didn't like, but there was something not quite right. And I ended up moving, as I said, as I like to say to people, I moved to the dark side, moved into sales and marketing from the pure science side. So the scientists will look down on sales and marketing. But what I discovered was that I just love working with people. And I've been a salesperson, I've been a rep, I've been a sales manager, I've worked in blue chip organizations. And I ended up working in the training department. And that was where I found my real vocation. So for about the last 10 years of my corporate life, I was working in the training department, doing coaching and training and various things, and also experiencing many horrible bosses. About 8 years ago, I got the chance to, or I was brave enough to jump ship and set myself up and run my own training company. And now I experience working with occasionally with horrible bosses, but definitely from time to time getting horrible clients. So, so
you have both.
I've covered the whole gamut, as I suspect you have as well. And I've got anecdotes, I've got stories, I've learned a few things along the way. One of the benefits of getting older is that hopefully you get a bit wiser. So Sean put me forward for this. I was really up for it. It's one of my favorite topics.
It's definitely an older but wiser thing. Well, I got the older part. That part I do know. But it was funny when you and I got on the Hangout the other day and did our little pre-show chat. It was interesting when you start getting into that. And I have a feeling, just to seeing the audience comments, it really resonated for a lot of people because it started flooding in for me of having these crazy stories of either, working. I mean, I really probably had my last official paycheck kind of job in 2001. And now I've worked for people as a consultant and come on board and maybe worked in their office, but as that official, this is my job. It's now 13 years. Do the math. Hello. But I've had this litany of stories of going through. Of course, I have the construction business, and I've worked with clients, and then working in social media, and now doing the Power Chat. I've worked with some. I've really resonated or brought up some crazy stories for me. One that I'll tell. I had this nutty guy and I love the job. I was telling you about that. It was like forensic engineering, so helping them. I mean, and I don't need. It's a long story, but and I love architecture and engineering. So, but I had this guy that I was working with that would not pay me. It was a ton of money and it was a ton of hours, but wouldn't pay me for 4 to 5 months, and wanted to know why I couldn't budget my money well enough that I couldn't go 4 or 5 months without getting paid. Yeah, that's my one.
It's just incredible, isn't it? I mean, but I think some people. I think that's one of the things that will come out as a theme in this. Is that when you're working with other people, when you're communicating with other people, most of us, or many people, never get beyond this, but most of us start off seeing the world through our own eyes, through our own experiences, and forget that it isn't the same for everybody else. And so often what you get is people just imposing their view of the world and just assuming that everybody goes along with it, and then getting quite surprised when people turn around and say, "Really? Is that how it is for you?" Because that's not how it is for me,
It is a perception thing, Mark, absolutely. So, and then you have to add in the fear factor of making money. It's very, very difficult to choose that battle of saying, you're a total jackass, and then walking away from it, and then standing up for it, because man, my hair is all staticky. Sorry, I just saw it. I'm like, look like one of those balloons. Squirrel. But saying something to him of like, wow, do you not get the perception of this is so different? And so when it's so outlandish, and really that is somewhat of an outlandish situation, I think. And to follow up with that story, I told you a year later, I ended up quitting. And I mean quitting sudden, because I was like, I got to rip this Band-Aid off or it's not going to be good. And then a year later, they came back to me. We're sorry about that. We wanted to do some work with you. And about a week into it, he starts in again, and I just said, come pick up your shit. I'm not working for you anymore. He said, oh, man, you can messenger it back. I said, no, it's going to be on my porch. And I just cut it off. So sometimes it is about saying something quickly, but again, let's talk about that of the fear of retribution, the fear of losing the money, having the client not pay you. So I think a lot of this has to do with us as consultants, is setting things up so that we don't get burned. So sometimes that is like getting money up front, right?
Yeah, I agree, totally agree. And I think also as well, especially when you look at it on the client side, where I guess you and I are now, is you have to learn from each of those bad experiences. And what I do now is, when I have a bad experience like that, I make sure that I'm explicit about that up front before I get into a financial arrangement, or even if I can, I'll build certain things into the contract that we have. For instance, terms around payment.
Yes.
So you sometimes, I think when you start out in consultancy, for instance, you try to give people the benefit of the doubt, and you treat them reasonably, and then you discover that there are many people in life who won't reciprocate and will happily take advantage of the situation. And I think you have to kind of toughen up a little bit, man up, and just sort of learn from it. And so what I do now regarding things like that is, I've got a litany of things that have really pissed me off over the years. So I now build them into the contract, and I'll sit down with people and just say, that's the contract, and discuss it with them if we need to. But hey.
Right. So communication, obviously, is going to be the first one as well. So I would say, either in starting a job, obviously, or starting a contract, the handshake thing, and this is something that was in the movie last night, by the way. Let me segue in that there was sort of a handshake, understanding, assumption. Ooh. And so not having everything dotted and crossed can lead to a lot of but you have to do a lot of work to remember what you said and what was said. So I would say also, I've given this advice to people as well, is just document the crap out of everything. So have things in emails, right?
Yes. I know, absolutely. And I don't know how it is in the States, but in the UK, if people who are watching this are employees rather than consultants or running their own business, if you ever end up in an industrial tribunal, where you take the company to court for unfair dismissal or something like that, the person who wins is always the person who keeps the best records. It's as simple as that. It's never about right and wrong. It's about who's got the better case or the better evidence to back up their side of the story. So, that tip that you gave is absolute gold dust, because document everything, and there's no such thing as an informal chat with your manager.
No.
At least on your side, if you're unhappy with it, write it down, and just make a note of the time and the date and what was said. Just try and keep it objective, and you don't have to go into detail, but that will help you in the future. I hope it never comes to that, but if it does, at least you've got your defense already written for you.
I feel like you could just, boom, throws down the mic, walks off the stage. Just he who keeps the best records wins.
It's it. No, absolutely it is. Certainly it is in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, when you're dealing with big companies who've got HR departments, they're very good at doing that. And employees often don't think about it. Even if they're right, proving they're right is like everything else. That's the thing that makes the difference.
Well, and
can I share with you my horror story from from corporate life that I shared with you earlier in the week?
But wait,
suitably
is it dirty?
Anonymized. No. Yeah, but I can make it dirty if you wish. This was a guy that I used to work with who was very senior in an organization. True story, this. And he made the mistake of falling in love with one of his co-workers. They were at the same level in the organization, but they reported directly to the big boss. And this was a number of years ago now, and the big boss called them into the office one day and said, "I've heard this rumor that you two are in a relationship. Is it true?" And the guy turned, well, they both said yes. And the guy turned around and said, "Yes, it's absolutely true." And the boss said, "Okay." And he opens his drawer and he takes out a big corporate checkbook. And he starts to write out a check. Now, in those days, and we're talking many years ago, in the UK, the maximum amount of money that you could get for being unfairly dismissed was something about the equivalent of about $18,000. So $18,000 was the maximum you could get if you took them to court. And they've changed the law now, and now it's unlimited. You could get millions. But in those days, it was $18,000. So this guy wrote a check, the equivalent of, the manager gave this guy, a check of $17,999. Threw it across the desk, said to the guy, "You're fired. And if you want to sue me for the other dollar, then feel free." And and that was that. This guy literally was kicked out there, and then that's the most extreme story I've ever heard.
But I'm just more like, oh my gosh! I mean, yeah, that when I think you mentioned that is like a movie scene type of thing too.
You wouldn't believe it if it was in a movie. You wouldn't believe it. You'd say that's unrealistic.
That is the tough part too. Is that when you get into those situations where sometimes you may just not be able to resolve that, or you just sort of have to rely on they'll get theirs, which really is not satisfying at all, is it?
No, it's not. And that's it. And that's the thing. You see, I think it was interesting when you were describing your situation with a client who had treated you badly in the past. It's about leverage in the end. You can only negotiate if you've got leverage. And it's very difficult to have leverage with your boss. I was reading some of the comments that people had posted. I can't remember who it was who posted, and I'm sure you'll recall. But the story about the group of workers who, in the end, managed to get rid of a bad boss, just by all refusing to go along with what this person did.
I need to go look and see. That might have. Please let us know. And I apologize. I'm going to look over here and see. Oh my gosh, that was Didn't you love that?
Yeah, no, it was a brilliant story, but what was really good was that the individuals used the leverage that they had, which was when this person was looking for somebody to take a job, they all said no. And I don't think I'm right for the job, or I don't think it's right for me, or whatever. And in the end, everybody refused to work with this person. So they did what they could. But ultimately, what was interesting about that story, if I read it correctly, was that wasn't the reason why the person was fired. That boss got fired. But it turned out that there were some financial irregularities, or there was a lack of, So you can only access that. You can only do what you can do. It's very difficult to.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. Absolutely. I was going to absolutely agree with you.
Yeah, that was Adam Music, by the way. I apologize for talking on that. It was Adam.
Great story.
It was such, and I wanted to bring him in, but he's working and he doesn't have a webcam. So, brother man, you're here in spirit, and he might be in the audience too. That was a perfect.
He's watching the replay.
Yes. So hopefully that was a perfect example of.
So I think it just comes back to about the leverage. You can only leverage what is available to you, and I go back to something that you said earlier, which is, in the end, I guess you have to decide how much do I want this job, because if it's that bad, it may be in the end your only choice is to walk away from it. But how many people have the luxury of being able to do that?
It's very, very
So,
tough,
you know,
and it's a fear factor, and I think it is kind of setting things up. So one, there's this whole like range of things that you can go through, which is one, set the job up initially so that your contract bodes well for everyone, right? And then
yes, yes,
yes, it bodes well for everyone. Setting up the contract, and then keeping perfect, great records of everything that's going on. You just never know, so you have to be fastidious. And then yeah, you start to recognize the patterns quicker too, right? Because sometimes you just let it go, then all of a sudden it's like that boiling pot with a frog. You're like, oh my God, it's hot in here. This sucks, right?
no, I agree. And if I could add in one extra thing, a great exercise I do with people who are feeling frustrated about situations is I get them to look at rights and responsibilities. So look at it from both perspectives. So imagine that you and I are in a work type situation, and it's not working from my side. What can help me just know what to do is, what are my rights in this situation, and what are my responsibilities to the organization? What are your rights as my boss, and what are your responsibilities to me as well as the organization? And sometimes when you sit and look at those different variations, it helps you to identify what you can do, not what you should do, but what your options are. Because if you have no rights, then there's nothing you can do. Most
Well,
of us have some rights, hopefully.
exactly. So I think what you're saying then too, and then I want to introduce my new guest who just popped in here.
Yeah.
I just pulled him out on the stage, but it is emotion. So the
Yeah.
emotion thing is very, very difficult to take out of it. And TJ, you and I can chat on that one here in a second, because I think it really is about it. And for me, I come out swinging. Everybody knows it. So I'm the worst person to speak on that, of restraint when someone's just a complete jackass. But Mark, you're absolutely right on that, of like, you really have to just get everything lined up. So let me welcome onto the show. He's going to pop in here for a little bit. This is my friend TJ Sullivan, my BFF. Hi, darling.
Hey, darling, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm super. This is what I get for being on Facebook in the morning. And next thing I know, I'm on a live show.
All right. and that's how you get stuff done.
Yeah,
So,
well, you know.
I know, guys, TJ is here in Denver with me. We've been friends for God knows how long, almost 2 decades.
Since the earth cooled, I think, actually.
Exactly. Before there was fire. So, TJ, tell us what you do. I know you have a little bit of experience in this, both on both sides of this coin, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think like most everybody, I've had some horrible bosses, and usually for me, it wasn't because they were offensive to me. I was reading in the comments one woman who was talking about working for a doctor who had mistresses and then tried to make her one of them. I've never had anything that's like that. That's just.
Are you mad about that?
Yeah, sadly, I could use a hot doctor to hit on me, but that's cool. But I've never had anything like that. But I have had disengaged bosses. And I actually just wrote an article for that, for a higher ed publication, about what do you do when you have a disengaged boss, because I think a lot of people will classify a horrible boss just as somebody who doesn't care, somebody who doesn't show up, doesn't make the effort, doesn't reward anything you do that's good. It's hard when you're engaged and your boss is not. Your boss is just killing time, waiting to retire, punching the clock, taking advantage of every perk they can get, whatever, and you're there trying to make your career move along. And so I think, in terms of that kind of horrible boss, I think that's definitely, maybe some people can relate to that. I don't know.
Oh, I think you're right. I posted an article from my girl Eileen Smith talking about the different ones. There's the troublemakers. There's the different ones that, there's, they mentioned one which kind of resonated too. The ones who do sort of want you to break the rules and then say, I got your back, I got you covered. That's a really tough one too. That gets into ethics and, what you're willing to do. I'm going to throw in a couple comments, you guys, just so you can see a couple, because I love my backpack is out there chiming in. So Stephen Q says, worst boss is one who allows me to enable him or her to continue to be a bad boss. Good comment. Right. Danielle, this is good. I love these horror stories. And I love her sign that says, I love you more than bacon. Well, I love you more than bacon. That's a lot of love. I love that. I once worked for a principal who told me how to arrange the furniture in my classroom. Yeah, that didn't last long. Documentation is essential. Sally Sue did had a couple in here too. Let me see if I can find her. She's had a couple. She goes, I work for more than one hollerer who yelled at everyone except me. When he yelled at me and I got up and walked out, my parting words were, the only one who ever yelled at me yelled at me and got away with it was my dad, and he's dead. So, girlfriend, I like her.
I like
Nothing
that
like
too.
unpacking your issues, in the workplace, though. Thank you, Sally.
Yeah, that one's a good one too. So Cameron, my snake man, says he had a boss that consistently used then, and then wrong. He was clueless, refused to see his fault in himself or learn. His grammar was incredibly bad. I could not believe the emails he would send to clients. I don't think people that like him existed in my industry, but now I know better. And then yeah, go read that. It's a great comment. But that's a tough one too, because I've worked in companies or with people that they're representing something, and then your reputation is attached to it as well. As an entrepreneur, that's somebody that may be working for a company. You're attached to how that person behaves, right?
Totally. Totally, absolutely, yeah, and it works both ways, of course. You can be the face of the company, and you can be there for, as a positive role model. But you're only as bad as the company's reputation, and people will base that reputation on the behaviour they come across. So yes, it's very easy to become tarred with that same brush.
So I'm going to flip into this one real quick, TJ, since you're on, and with your background, TJ works with a lot of college students. That's what you do, is go and speak on college campuses and helping us get a better generation than what we got going on.
I don't know
right
how
now.
I'm doing, though. I don't know if that's working out so well.
How's that working out for you? Listen, you're making it happen, though, sweetie. So tell us about some of your experiences with working with, some of the younger generation and how you're helping them and empowering them, so to speak, to not have to not be a bad boss or a bad employee.
Well, there's definitely a generation gap. I mean, we anybody who's read anything about millennials knows that they care a lot more about the big picture of their life than they do about the minutia of that job. They are not assigning their identity based on what their job is. That's the job is what they do to be able to do the rest of their life. And so I'm finding that the young people are less tolerant of horrible bosses. They are also good at compartmentalizing. Okay, I'll put up with your crap during this meeting, but then if you don't leave me alone and let me do my thing, I'm out of here. So I mean, I've employed a lot of millennials, and I think that and college students, and I think that they will do their job if they understand what it is, if they feel that there's some reward for it, if they feel that they're appreciated. They'll even put up with a lot of garbage. I mean, but they do want it to fit into the rest of their life. I recently had an employee who was a fantastic employee who worked for me for 3 years and just came into me one day and said, this has been fantastic, but I'm going to go travel Asia for 4 months. I want to do that. And unfortunately, I have a small business. I couldn't, make that possible for her job to be waiting for when she got back. Bigger companies can do that, So sometimes I guess being a good boss to this younger generation is just a matter of allowing them to live more complete lives as opposed to expecting their entire life to revolve around whatever your business goals are.
Ooh, preach that one, brother. Thank you for that, because I think that is important. Let's set that tone, because it is harder for some of us who've been around for a long time and seen that, work hard now, and right? And I found this from going to that Success Summit last week. That was the one thing I saw that a lot of these guys that are really big names have learned how to do is, one, they've stopped working to live, or whatever, the live to work kind of thing. And then they're also fostering that in their companies as well, because they're seeing like you just can't. Nobody's really wants to live that way anymore. So I am seeing a little bit of a trend in some of the companies, not all of them. But what do you guys think about this? I think social media is helping a lot now that there's a lot more transparency with this poor behavior.
Don't
you think?
I totally agree. I think. I mean, it's a microcosm of everything in life through social media. Everything is more immediate. And you're able to share it more widely. You're able to go and talk about it more widely. Sometimes that's helpful. Sometimes it's not.
Right.
But I think one thing that social media has done is it's made the world even smaller, and it's made people want to go backpacking in Asia even more and see how attainable that is. And that's one of the reasons I think people. I see it in my own kids. I've got 3 boys, 18, 20, 22. The 22-year-olds at college in the States. And they very much think about, the next 6 to 12 months and what they're going to do. And it's like joining the Boy Scouts or something. They collect badges, skills, that they can then take with them and go and do something different. And the idea of them having a career, for the rest of their lives is just complete anathema. I speak to my lads and say, well, what do you want to do You know, they have no idea what they want to do, but they're not worried about it. Yeah.
And also when you're watching your Facebook feed while you're trying to work and you're seeing all the amazing things that people, the lives that people put out there on Facebook that they're living, which, by comparison to you sitting at your desk working on an analysis report, is so amazing, and you're working on this garbage. It's pretty easy to put that on your boss too, to say, oh, my boss is the one who won't let me go and hike the Himalayas or whatever, and so there's also, somewhat there's a gap in expectation.
Mm-hmm.
Social media is great, but when you're reading someone's feed about their trip to Tahiti while you're working on your, boring assignment that we all have in jobs, it's there might be a negative influence too, is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, yeah, I agree. And the other great thing about social media is you don't see the crappy stuff. Like, I got dysentery when I was in whatever country, so I only put the fun stuff on there, too. I want to, first of all, I want to invite Catherine to come in, too. She's had some sound problems, but she's got a good story. She posted her article about bullying, and which is very serious, about bullying from the playground to the job, and that is a tough thing, too. We all thought growing up we could just kind of get away from it, but that's another issue. We won't get into it as much because it's serious and not funny. I like funny, but right, it's all about the infotainment. Let me read you this story. You're gonna love this one. This is from my brother Dave Moore across the pond too. He was about to walk out. Oop, hold on. He was about to walk. Why? Oh, stop! That it's not gonna. Okay, fine, Google Plus. You don't want to let me read it. I'm going to read it to you anyway. He says he was about to walk out in front of 150 salespeople as a keynote speaker with an insurance company, and the boss said to the group from the stage, oh, Catherine, you're going to have to mute yourself. There it is. That's her leaf blower fan. The boss said, unless I see some improvement in your attitudes, then I'm going to continue laying people off. And please welcome Dave Moore. That's the best. What do you guys think?
That is the best.
Well, at least the expectations were clear, right, Mark? I mean...
Absolutely.
And now you know.
Hopefully they were all sat there documenting exactly what he said as well, with their cameras and stuff like this. Here's what he said. Look.
Yeah, and everybody's faces are, Yeah. But don't you guys think with the idea again about transparency, that's the kind of stuff that somebody's going to have a phone. And they're going to check out this jackass and what he said, and then they'll be backpedaling. I mean, a good example of that, and I'm going to butcher who this is. It's one of the guys. It's the Microsoft guy who was basically telling women to stop, to just get what they want. If they do what they're supposed to, they'll get the raise. Basically telling women to just shut the hell up. And they get what they get. This was about a month ago, and then now he's been backpedaling since then, if you guys remember that one. Oh, look at Catherine. Catherine, pipe in on that one, girlfriend. We'll put up with your leaf blower because you got some good stuff to say, girlfriend. And this is Catherine, and I butcher her name every time, so welcome, sweetie.
Simplam, and I am sorry about the leaf blower. It's my laptop fan. I've done everything I can to try and fix it.
Wait till you hear it, you guys. You're
gonna hear this, every few seconds. I'm like, oh no, can't do that. It's gonna fry my computer. But anyway, yeah, my story. I was in radio, so and I loved it. I loved the staff. I hated my boss. Okay, which is why we're here, right? And she was, I ended up doing some research on it, and she's kind of a classic bully, a workplace bully, which is what inspired, my post on Lifehack. Her favorite trick, this was her ongoing trick, was she would intercept phone calls and emails and never let them through to the rest of us. Wow. And so an underwriter, a salesperson, a client would call us up and want to run some spots on the radio. And I was the underwriting coordinator. I never got the emails, so the company looked like an idiot. I looked like an idiot.
No.
And then and then she was never there. So we were running these little promos. Hey, call the general manager if you have any questions or comments. Blah blah blah. And then they would call her, and she was never there to answer the phone. And that was her favorite kind of ongoing thing. And then. One of the things about the workplace bullying thing is that if you find yourself a target, you're probably A, smarter than, and B, better looking than, and better liked than your boss, which is why you're a target. Mm-hmm. So they're feeling threatened about the whole thing, and they're wanting to get rid of you. So there toward the end, she started calling me into her office and just ripping me a new one for nothing. She would accuse me of doing all these things, and I'd say, okay, fine, I'll go call up the people I had supposedly offended and say I'm sorry, and they're like, who the heck, what the heck are you talking about?
So awful.
I know.
That sounds like triple lose, like lose, lose, lose.
But Catherine, is there anything that you tried to confront that worked? I mean, did you ever just put it on the line and say, why are you doing this? I commented earlier that I think a lot of times a horrible boss is only going to make a change in their behavior if they see what they stand to lose for that, And so I was wondering, Catherine, did you ever say to this woman, you're hurting sales, you're hurting client relationships, you are going to feel the push, you're going to feel the negative results of this. Why are you doing this? Can we find a better way? What is really behind this behavior? Did you ever try anything like that?
And let me just add to that too. Did you feel comfortable, where did you feel that there was just going to be an absolute backlash for you? So I wanted to add that to your question, TJ.
Yeah.
So that's you, Catherine.
They're good questions, guys. I navigate by gut most of the time, and my gut was telling me, you know what? If I had tried that, it would have been a complete and utter waste of time. The board of directors was not, they didn't have my back in any way, shape, or form.
That's a terrible feeling.
They were basically, a kudos club. They'd get together and pat each other's back and say, oh, look how special we are. We're on a nonprofit board, right? And, I suppose I could have tried, but under the circumstances, it was just, I didn't think it would work.
I guess my point, Mia, was that sometimes, there is no comfortable scenario in confronting a horrible boss, right? Isn't that the entire point?
I think I think it's what's the level of discomfort, and it's back to what we were saying earlier with Mark and so forth. And so, I really want the show to be empowering people as well, to start asking the questions or find the people. And if anything, what we talked about, that Mark nailed it right from the beginning, is document everything so that when it comes back to it, you've got every email, and even if it means just keeping it, I keep this nerdy Excel document that I just write in everything I did that day just very quickly, and I think that does help a lot too. So I think there's a lot of small things you can do to empower. But TJ, that's a great question, and Catherine, that's a tough situation to be in, just to not know of how can I get things, if I don't have something set up, am I going to just leap off a cliff, which I've done a couple times, you guys. I will tell you that the last job that I had, and this was this was the 2001. I was literally driving home, and this company had been, it was kind of a downturn here in Denver. And I was an executive assistant, and I sat in on the executive meeting where they were deciding everybody that was going to be fired as they were cutting things, right? I haven't thought about this in a while, so listen to this one. So I'm sitting there, and we've got this big whiteboard, and there's all these names. It was horrible. Yeah. Because you literally just felt this cutting them was something out of a movie. So the things that I saw them doing were, one, cutting admin staff, and cutting out their parking. Well, this was in the wintertime, and so these people would, these ladies were coming in, or these people were coming in and having to park really, really far away. I'm like, really, you're going to make them walk 6 blocks when it gets dark at 4:30 because you're cutting that? But then they were cutting all these people. I'm like, so you're going to have these high-paid guys doing FedEx and running these things that they can't do poorly. And on the way home, I just was praying and meditating, and I was like, F this, and I got home and told my husband at the time, bless him, I'm so sorry, still will, babe, I'm quitting this job, and he did, so I did have that, but it was pretty scary, but I just was like, I can't do this anymore. It was such a horrible situation to be in, to watch them cut people. So that's
Isn't it essentially you have 3 choices in a horrible boss situation: fight, flight, or endure, right? Those are your 3 choices, and
yes.
And you can sit there and wish it was different. But what I was saying to Catherine, did you ever confront it? That would have been the fight mechanism, But she decided that she was going to endure it. Or Catherine, I don't know your situation, but you either got the hell out of there, right, or you had to endure it, And there's different reasons why people will choose those different options. But the funny thing is, I think a lot of people will choose an option and then regret the option they chose. They will endure it, and then they will say, God, I can't believe I stayed in that job 3 years with that idiot I worked for.
Yeah, that's later on, right? When you're just feeling like.
It takes courage, doesn't it? It takes courage to jump ship and do something radically different. I think organisations are very good at persuading us that the grass is not greener on the other side, and therefore it can take a high level of pain before we're prepared to make that decision. And I totally agree. You can look back. I can look back across my life and things and think, why didn't I do that sooner? But human nature is that most people, not well, or many people, are reluctant to change for fear of that it will be even worse. But it's a little bit like being a caged animal, isn't it? You know, if somebody opens the door and says, "There you are, you can walk free," if you were born in captivity, you probably won't walk out of the cage. So you become conditioned. You know, you become conditioned, and it's very easy to fear the change. But I totally agree. If you, at some point, if you don't point out to people what they're doing, it's just, how do you do that in a way that doesn't come back and bite you, unless you're prepared to be bitten and take the consequences. And it is possible to do that. It is possible to do that. But and one of the things I focus on is behaviour, not the intent behind it. You know, so encourage people. Just say, you said this. What exactly did you mean by that sort of thing? I know it sounds really pedantic, but the only bit that's real between the two people involved in that situation is the behaviour. If you label it as bullying because that's how it feels, undoubtedly it is bullying. But if you want to confront it, confront the behaviour rather than putting an intent behind it or putting a high emotional label on it. If you're going to confront it, confront behaviour, and maybe you might find some way forward.
Well, back to the emotion thing. And listen, we're at 41 past the hour. I knew that was going to go really, really fast on this one. So, and let me just tell you how much stuff is broken on Google Hangouts. I no longer have a lower third, so don't make me stand up. Hello. I don't have a tiara, and my comments don't work.
Wow.
It's always something.
Thank you, Sergey. Thank you, Bryn.
Nice. So Sheffy says you should be in the meeting where your bosses make the cuts, and then you have to tell the employees. He's right. It could have been worse.
That's retail. That's what they do in retail. They send the manager out to cut all the salespeople. Yeah.
I'm thinking of that scene in The Fifth Element where he's like, well, we could cut off $1 million here, and he's like, nah, go with $1.5 million. It's all good. Like that's the horrible boss too. So listen, obviously, if you're just tuning in, we're going to be wrapping up. I'm Mia Voss. We're talking about horrible bosses, and we've touched on horrible clients as well. I have Mark DeCosimo is here with us today. My friend TJ Sullivan joined us, and Miss Catherine. Catherine, unmute and tell me how to say your last name. Is it Siblem?
That's close. Simblem.
Simblem. Yeah, I left off an M. It was for savings. I left off that M for you. All right, so we're going to start wrapping it up here pretty soon because I'm going to get to the what's on section. Woo! Because we are going to do that. And then you're back crap crazy. But, guys, give me some advice real quickly on firing crappy clients. I know we're going to just touch on it real quick, but give me some stories of maybe how you've gotten rid of shitty clients. Yeah, I said the S word.
Anybody? Would you like me to go first? Would you like me to go first?
Yeah, Mark, jump in there, my brother.
Yeah, well, I think as quickly and painlessly as possible is the answer. Don't drag it out. So don't try and get them to work it out for themselves. Don't try and drop big hints that they'll change. Sometimes I think you just have to come in and lay it on the line. If you've made the decision that you're going to get rid of them, then you've evaluated everything beforehand. The best thing you can do is just come in and as coldly and calmly as possible, just say, "Sorry, guys, this isn't working for me. I've decided, that's it, and I'm walking away." And hopefully, I'll go back to something I said earlier. Make sure that that you preempted a lot of the negativity through the contract that you've got. So there's something in the contract that allows you to walk away if it's not working. That would be my experience.
I would say, too, I'm going to jump in there. I would say, too, like after every contract is done, always build in some time to do some Monday morning quarterbacking and say, okay, what can I, because I just had that on a contract for myself in my other business of saying, ooh, I forgot I need to add this in. So always allow a little bit of time afterwards to do a little bit of reviewing and say, what can I change for the next time, too? So how about you, TJ? What's your advice on that?
Well, I think that you have to go in and say what you want to say. You have to go in there with a little bit of courage. I mean, clearly, cutting off a client is not an easy thing to do, and you're always going to second guess yourself. But go in and say what you meant to say. And I always tell people that every day, every moment, every choice you make is always a decision between hope and fear, right? And we tend to go in, and if we're going in with the fear of what losing that client is going to do to us, we're never going to be successful. If we go in with the hope of what we can gain from clearing that negativity out of our professional life, or simplifying our professional abilities, or whatever the case is, go in with that hope in your mind as opposed to the fear. And if you can do that and you can say what you came to say, then you'll be fine. I think there's very few people I know who ever regret getting rid of a bad, horrible client. Everybody I know is very happy they did it and wonder again why they endured. But no, just choose the hope instead of the fear. And I think in almost every situation in your life, that's pretty good advice. So. Yeah.
Now you know why he's my BFF. I'm just saying. Let me go to Catherine. How about you, girlfriend? What do you have for us?
Well, I don't have a whole lot of experience with crappy clients. I had, because I'm fairly new to the whole entrepreneur thing. So, basically clients and bosses are the same thing, right?
Yes.
But I had two kind of lame-o clients, and we had set up kind of a commission-based thing, right? And one didn't pay my commission, or he didn't pay half of it, and the other one kind of like never got to me, didn't want to work with me, that kind of thing. So that one was actually pretty easy. I said, look, I'm changing my billing policy from commission only to ongoing payment. Here's a contract, and I never heard from him again.
And there's your sign, right? That is how you know when you put it out there. I would say the other thing too is just when you make a decision about that, like changing your billing or changing something like that, I've found the least amount of explaining really works.
Absolutely.
Look at everybody's bobbleheading, because especially, and I'm going to say it, I've managed to go 46 minutes and not bring up the gender difference, but women tend to do a lot more of like, and here's why, and now I just say it and go, and literally just like shut up, don't say a word, just tell the story. I'm going to segue real quick. Just want to shout out, if you can go and read, Chef had a good point. He said, while employees don't set their life to their jobs, they still need to have respect for the business that is providing them with the means to live their lifestyle. Some may be excellent employers, but also feel loyal to the company they work for and will leave them high and dry when they feel the need to run off to join the circus. That is a problem at times with, I will say, with some businesses that, you can do what you can as employees, and you can't keep everybody, but sometimes that may be a blessing in disguise when you leave them. And then Cheryl Deuce said that one time she had a boss spray her office for bad spirits. She tried to not take it personally. That is awesome. Debbie Davis had piped in here too. It's good to see you, Debbie. And there are some really, really good stories in here. Again, Sally Sue Ember, Margarita Crystal Lotus. So please go back and read those. Susan Shangle, thank you for sharing your stories, because I think sometimes, I don't know about you guys, there is some peace and understanding and solidarity in reading that someone else has been through it, and then how they handle it. I love hearing stories of like, so then how'd you handle it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You can learn from it every time. All right, guys, so let's do the what's on section. I'm going to go one by one. What's on your feet? TJ Sullivan, what's on your feet?
What's on my feet?
Yeah.
Like, what am I wearing on my feet?
Yeah.
I'm wearing socks. I'm in my office. I'm wearing socks. I'm in my underwear right now. Good Lord, Son
of a bitch. All right, fine. He's not going to show me his feet.
No,
all right,
I'm not going to show you my
Mark,
feet.
show me what's on your feet. Yeah, you guys make fun of TJ for not playing.
I didn't.
I've got my lime green Crocs.
Belong in Colorado, brother. Hey, Catherine, let's see what's on your feet, girlfriend. Show it up. Oh, girlfriend's ready to run from that fan.
Well, I have to run right out and go walk a dog right after this. So it's like costume change to dog walking mode after this.
Like Mr. Rogers. TJ, I saw you float in your shoe like a boat. Let me see that again. And we shamed him into showing it. And me, I've got fun slippers on because it's colder than a you-know-what out here. All right, guys. TJ, you know what, you're here in Colorado. All right, I want to remind you guys that it is the month of November. It is time for Thanksgiving. I want to hear what you're crap crazy about in the comments, too. So whatever it is, if you want to shout out a business or your dog, your whatever, your boyfriend, let's hear it. I want to hear it. But let's see, Mark, I'm going to start with you. What are you crap crazy about? And then tell me your call to action also.
I'm crap crazy about tonight in the UK. It's our biggest fundraiser of the year. So we have a thing called Children in Need, which raises about 35 million pounds, about $50 million every year. And they have so it's a big telethon thing on tonight. So that's a big event. So that's the thing I'm looking forward to at the most.
Nice. And then what's your call to action, brother? You got anything you want me to do? Go and read your blog on Apprentice?
Yeah, at the moment I'm writing up my blog on The Apprentice, which is based on your Apprentice, which
yes.
What's his name, Donald Trump used to do. So yes, if you're interested in that sort of stuff, if you can't watch the program, read my blog. Absolutely. Cosmo.com. It would have said on my lower third, was it working?
Yeah, right. Well, look, and I'm without pants too. Don't feel badly. I ain't got no lower third on either. And let's see. Okay, so Catherine, let's hear what you're bat crap crazy about, and what's your call to action, sweetie?
Okay, bat crap crazy, and again, sorry about the leaf blower here.
I love
it. You're blown away. I'm bat crap crazy. Well, about two things. One of them is radio, and I miss it so much. You know, I love radio. I know it's on its way out, but you know, it's still, there's nothing like it. Related to that, I love.
Listen.
Huh?
I still listen. I'm in the car. Listen, I'm a captive audience, so it's all good.
The other thing is learning to play the violin. I've played the flute for 40 years. I'm bored to death with it, so I'm learning to play the violin. So that's the other thing.
That is awesome.
I've at it for about 2 years. I'm actually finally beginning to sound like a violin player, not some, you know, pig that you're holding into your arm. Call to action is, if you want some help developing an online marketing strategy, I'm your girl. Go to Semblem Services online at blogspot.com. I'll post the link in the comments, and I'll get you set up.
Yay! Thank you so much. I love the violin thing. That's awesome, girl. Get it going. All right, my brother TJ, give me a bat crap crazy, which means a person, place, or thing, something you just love, and then your call to action.
Okay, I just read a book by Khaled Hosseini. I think it's Khaled or Khaled Hosseini. He's the guy who wrote The Kite Runner and A Thousand Splendid Suns. And his newest book is called And the Mountains Echoed. And if you don't cry in the first 50 pages, something is fundamentally wrong with you. It is a beautiful book. Great as we start the holiday season to remember how we're connected as humans to one another. So I recommend it. It's only $12.76 on Amazon right now. So go get it. It's a great thing. And my call to action, I know I'm coming off like a big bleeding heart liberal here, but this time of year I love to go on the website donorschoose.org. It's a website where teachers in classrooms can ask for the things that they are not supplied by their schools, and you can go on and you can actually give the money to help them get an iPad or books or things they need in their classroom. This time of year I always go on and I always give a couple $100 and help some classroom teacher be able to do their job better. So donorschoose.org. This time, during the time of Thanksgiving, I think it's a great time as we're out there shopping and flexing our Visa cards at the mall to remember that we can help kids in a very direct way. Donorschoose.org. So that's my recommendation.
Big bada boom. And I like it that you just shamed people into crying.
yeah. If you don't cry, something's wrong with you. And I'm going to Japan tomorrow, so you know I'm in vacation mode, so I'm excited.
Jelly, we are all super jelly. You have to keep us posted on how the trip is, because that is going to be fabulous. So I love all your comments, guys. Thank you so much for coming on today, giving us a lot of info. Again, like I said, this was a pretty reactionary subject today. It really resonates for a lot of people. So I truly appreciate it, you guys. Thank you so much. My bat crap crazy. You remind me about a book. I know, Heart You. My bat crap crazy, I don't even have it here because it's right by my bed, is a book called The Soul of Money by Lynn Swift. I met her at Success 3.0 Summit. Just, again, it just is more, I mean, if you're reading things like that and getting aligned, then you're going to end up working in something where you're not dealing with the crap we just talked about. And let me also show you something, because I don't know if you guys know, I'm doing this new thing called Brandtastic. So brands that I love have been joining a program, and then I shout them out. So look at this thing that I got. I didn't unwrap it yet because I wanted you to see it. Watch this. Oh, this is from Nature's Path. By the end of this, I'm going to be healthy, full, and very regular.
I was thinking that.
Who's going to be regular at the house? Bam! I'm just saying.
That or have a house full of rabbits.
Hello. Stuck up in toilet paper. So anyway, that's from Nature's Path. I'm back crap crazy about them. And then Orgain is my new protein shake because they are helping me keep very, very healthy. So my call to action is go and subscribe at themiaconnect.com because I really don't put newsletters out that often except for the shows. So you're not going to get spam, but that's my call to action. And then next week, check it out. Lisa Lynn, she is a celebrity and nutrition expert on the Dr. Oz show, is going to join us. And my trainer, Ashley DePaula, she's helping me on my 50 and 6 program, which is getting my tired old ass in shape before I turn 50. So join us next week because the holidays are coming and you know you're going to eat. And so I want you healthy.
Can you wear a headband for that show, Mia? You know, a
Yeah.
headband like Olivia
Let's do physical. Yeah, I'm old enough to know what you're talking about on that one. What's her name? I just forgot her name.
Olivia Newton-John.
Hello. Exactly. Yeah, I promise I will put one on for you. I'm going to get physical with you. So join us next Friday. That's on the Mia Connect Power Chat. You guys, thank you so much. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Bye. Serious topic because there have been I've been harassed on a job. I don't know about, I mean, I work in construction for part of my business. What do you want from me, right? But I know it's a serious topic. We do want to keep it light today, but if you feel like sharing your story and just, you know, blurting it out on comments, or if you want to come in, put in the comment too. We can have you pop in and tell your story, but you got to keep it somewhat clean, right? Unless you want a dirty story, Mark.
I'm easy. It's
Like
the early evening over here. It's the morning over there. Maybe people aren't quite ready for it yet. I don't know.
As long as your lower third's working, brother. So, all right. So let's jump in. Tell us what you're doing. I love your background. It's varied. I love the fact that you're writing a blog also on The Apprentice. It's like this.
Yes.
This, weekly overview of what's going on there. So give us a little bit of background on you and why you can talk on this subject with us today.
Yeah, well, my background is I was a scientist by training. I worked in the research and development side of pharmaceuticals. Very, very boring. Did that for about 3 years. It's one of those things where you build your career up towards something and you think it's going to be great, and when you get there, the job isn't quite you.
Right.
I didn't realize what it was that I didn't like, but there was something not quite right, and I ended up moving, as I said, as I like to say to people, I moved to the dark side, moved
Yes.
into sales and marketing from the pure science side. So the scientist will look down on sales and marketing, but what I discovered was that I just love working with people, and I've been a salesperson, I've been a rep, I've been a sales manager, I've worked in blue chip organizations, and I ended up working in the training department, and that was where I found my real vocation. So for about the last 10 years of my corporate life, I was working in the training department, doing coaching and training and various things, and also experiencing many horrible bosses. About 8 years ago, I got the chance to, or I was brave enough to jump ship and set myself up and run my own training company. And now I experience working occasionally with horrible bosses, but definitely from time to time getting horrible clients. So, so
you have both.
I've covered the whole gamut, as I suspect you have as well. And I've got anecdotes, I've got stories, I've learned a few things along the way. One of the benefits of getting older is that hopefully you get a bit wiser. So Sean put me forward for this. I was really up for it. It's one of my favorite topics.
It's definitely an older but wiser thing. Well, I got the older part. That part I do know. But it was funny when you and I got on the Hangout the other day and did our little pre-show chat. It was interesting when you start getting into that, and I have a feeling just to seeing the audience comments, it really resonated for a lot of people because it started flooding in for me of having these crazy stories of either working. I mean, I really probably had my last official paycheck kind of job in 2001. And now I've worked for people as a consultant and come on board and maybe worked in their office, but as that official, this is my job. It's now 13 years. Do the math. Hello. But I've had this litany of stories of going through. Of course, I have the construction business, and I've worked with clients, and then working in social media, and now doing the Power Chat. I've worked with some. I've really resonated or brought up some crazy stories for me. One that I'll tell. I had this nutty guy and I love the job. I was telling you about that. It was like forensic engineering, so helping them. I mean, and I don't need. It's a long story, but and I love architecture and engineering. So, but I had this guy that I was working with that would not pay me. There was a ton of money and it was a ton of hours, but wouldn't pay me for 4 to 5 months, and wanted to know why I couldn't budget my money well enough that I couldn't go 4 or 5 months without getting paid. Oh, Cameron is here. I need to get him on my show. There's my snake man. Check him out. We are going to have him on the show. I posted a link. He likes snakes. What can I say? Let's see. Danielle says, Brr, it is. Oh, my God, you guys. How cold is it? It's that cold. I mean, it was maybe 5 degrees as a heat wave. It's going to be 30 here today in Denver. So how about where you are, Mark? What's going on where you are?
We've got lots of rain, and it's probably about 10 degrees, but very, very windy and very, very wet. I mean, incredibly wet. So that's our typical sort of fall weather for the UK.
Every day.
The north of England, that's a typical sort of summer weather as well, actually. So what can I say?
I hear you. Let's give a shout out to our brother Sean. He's in the audience, and he's the reason why you're here today. He was on the show last week. He says, just checking in, no pressure, but you better be entertaining.
Well, we know who to blame, Sean Mann, if I'm not.
It's all you. Elaine is saying woohoo from Bel Air, Maryland. Easy for me to say. And my brother TJ says he hates it when his lower third won't work.
He looks a lot younger than me, so hopefully he won't have to go through this.
Oh, he's a little hot number. And listen, TJ, get in touch with Candy on this link here because she is in Japan. She's in Tokyo, so. And my girl Yvonne is watching in stealth. So, and I want to give a quick shout out again. I want to know. We're going to segue real quick. If you guys liked the weekend show last week, can you say something in the comments? Because I used to do once a month weekend shows, got out of the habit, and I have a feeling it went over well. So if you guys want to see a Saturday or Sunday show once a week, tell me. I'd like to know. So yeah, Sean was on, Eileen Smith was on, Nazim was on, talking about how cool his life is, Life of Nazim, and then of course Shannon Hernandez. So I want to thank them for being on the show too. So listen, let's jump into it. I want to hear also everybody's comments. If you want to tell your story, please put it in the comments. I do say, I know this is a girl, Jennifer Spencer, Allison Maness, Julie Gutman, Scott Sertich, Ashley Sertich, Felice Haas, Larry Mars, Stephanie Landon, and Sabine Meyer. Did you see our little sign?
Yeah.
We had little taped off seats and everything. We felt fancy. So for you Denver people who want to come with me next time when I do a movie premiere, will you let me know in the comments here so I can get you going on that? So without any further ado, you know what I'm going to do. I'm going to pull up the Bat Pack because you know they're out there. So let's shout them out very quickly. First of all, do you have anybody you want to shout out before I jump into that?
No, fire away. You go for it.
All right, so I've got Sherilyn Firaben. I never say your name right, but you know I love you. Go Daddy, go Daddy. She's super excited for today's topic. Nazim, he is in the audience. He's representing my brother from another mother. And let's see what else I've got. I know that Candy is out in the audience from Japan. Yay, girlfriend. I think she's probably fallen asleep, but I know she's out there. And let me also give a shout out to Carmen Mandich. Look at my fun mug she sent me, my chip nails. So, well, let me see if I can get the tiara on it. Caca del Toro. And Carmen, your tripod Bob mug is on its way as well. So let's see who else we have. Oh, Nazim said he's had a week of edgy clients with edgy demands. Totally know that one. One Great Life, Phil is out. He in the audience. He's ambitiously waiting. Sheila is locked and loaded for this one. Rock and roll. Let me see if I can pull in a couple. Oh, my brother Dave Pipe is here from Sussex.
Mm-hmm.
I bet you know where that is.
Yes.
And Coach G says hi to Dave Pipe. Coach G is the man, just so you know. He's the man for every woman, is what I said about him the other day. I'm not even going to fill in what that means. I'm just going to let you think about that one. My brother Lee Rickler is here. Boom. And I'm sorry I wasn't pulling him up before, but here's the one from Sheila, because she does say rock and roll. He says, hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. It's Friday. I'm Mia Voss. You're watching the Mia Connect Power Chat. You know, it's always something every week, so we had a little bit of trouble in the green room. The tiara wasn't working, but look, let's do it. You ready? It's working. But on the flip side, my guest, Mr. Mark DeCosmo, his lower third isn't working, so we're just going to have to say his name over and over again, right?
Yeah, it's an age thing, Mia. You know, when you get to my age, your lower third stops working. What can I say?
It's going to be a good show already. Tell that right now. So listen, everyone, today we're going to be talking about horrible bosses. and horrible clients, because I think they actually go hand in hand. I started thinking about it and thought, you know, a lot of people now have new jobs or new businesses because they had a horrible boss. And then on the flip side, sometimes we get horrible clients. So we're going to cover all that today. Mark DeCosmo, of course, is here with us, and he has some great background. But I want to give you a little bit of information how I came up with the idea. So Horrible Bosses 2 is coming out on November 26th. I partnered up with a company called Kicks 43 Denver, and they're awesome. They give us tickets to movies, which is great. And Mark, I wish you were here. You would have come with us, right?
Yeah, I most certainly would.
I know you're a big movie fan, so I'm not going to do any kind of spoiler alerts. We're not going to put anything out on the movie, but I will say Horrible Bosses 2, hashtag Like a Boss, was just as funny as the first one and just as crude. It's dirty. And Jennifer Aniston is still banging hot, for anybody who's wondering. So she
That's reassuring, yes.
Yes, she is just as dirty in this one too, but it definitely has some interesting characters in it, and of course some horrible bosses and horrible clients. So I didn't even know it was going to be that way, but it kind of incorporated it. So yay! So let me give a shout out to the people who went with us last night. My man Greg Boysaw, my